Hello, day camp professionals, and welcome back to the Day Camp Pod. I'm Andy Pritikin, Director of Liberty Lake in the Philadelphia suburbs of New Jersey.
I'm Sam Thompson. I'm from Crystal Lake Park District, northwest of Chicago.
I'm Aaron Gluckstein from Camp Robin Hood, located just outside of Toronto, Canada.
And we are day camp professionals joining forces to provide a forum for day camp professionals to share ideas and best practices across North America and beyond. And for today's episode, we will be discussing camp spirit events, special events at day camps with the help of our new friend, Curt Moose Jackson, all the way from Florida, right? Is that where you're at?
I'm in Florida now, yeah. Born and raised in California, but I am in Florida right now. Thank you for having me here. You guys are combining powers. You sound like a super team. Like this is like the Avengers 2 here.
It is a super group. It's a super group podcast.
Right. I love it.
Andy's got the super voice, so that's how it goes.
Yeah. And so Curt, he told me that the moose in his name is partially because he wanders around. So you've been all around, right? You told me a thing. You were literally down with your camper down in Florida for a while, right? If not now.
Well, yeah. For the past couple of years, I traveled in an RV around the United States, me and my dog. And it was great. If it was a 20-year-old RV though, so it had its issues. And I got into Texas, and it was just kind of like things were breaking down. And I thought, well, do I want to put money into a 20-year-old RV? I'll stay in one place for a while. I came over to Florida, but if I could get back on the road at some point, I will, because this is great just to travel around.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And look, you visit a lot of places, learn a lot of things, right? I mean, It's like I tell people about my camp. I started my camp from scratch, and I say that my camp is literally a greatest hits of other camps, right? Many from Camp Robin Hood, right? And the few times that I've met Sam in person at ACA National, I've written down quite a few of her ideas too. Right.
Well, that's one of the great things about the camp industry, is that so many people are willing to share their ideas. And that's one of the reasons I started my roundtables on my blog, my monthly roundtables, is that people can just share ideas with others. And I've gotten so much, just so many ideas and so much good stuff from that I was able to use in my camps when I was directing camps.
Right. I mean, I'm sure Travis has the same story that started him out.
And for Camp Robin Hood, we have such a long history that, we've built up a great repertoire of amazing ideas and activities, but they've all come from different contributors over the years, of course, amazing staff and amazing conference presenters and other camps that have contributed to what we do. So it's nice to see it come full circle.
All right, so before we get started, I want to say that this Go Camp Pro podcast is sponsored in part by the American Camp Association, New York and New Jersey, dedicated to preserving, promoting, and enhancing the quality of the summer camp experience. For camp pros, that means a wide array of professional development offerings like the Tri-State Camp Conference, which if you've never been to, you really should go to, and other smaller conferences that can be found at acanyj.org. And the Day Camp Podcast is also brought to you by the friendly and resourceful folks at CRS, Commercial Recreation Specialists, the fine purveyors of the best waterfront, and splash pad products in the world. Check out their website for a mind-blowing list of products at crs4rec.com. Meet my friend Rich at the conferences. He's always there. CRS is serious about fun. So, day camp special events. So, we touched upon this a little bit on our breakthrough pilot episode when we were talking about the sleepaway camp spirit. And one of the things that we were using to inspire us was a blog that our friend Curt Moose Jackson wrote about how to get the sleepaway camp spirit in day camps. You can look for that online. Where can they find that blog, Curt? Because it is
blushing. Summercamppro.com.
Yeah, it's amazing. We have that listed actually in our document that gets posted online of resources for people to check out. And a lot of the things that Curt wrote in that blog were things that were special event type stuff. So for me personally, I never went to a traditional day camp like I run right now. I went to a sleepaway camp for a couple of summers, a really good one, Camp Mackinac in the Berkshires. And to me, the evening activities were like the highlight of my day, because as kids, it may even say, hey, tonight we're going to be doing the whatever thing. And you're just like, you have no idea what that means. And then the evening comes and you do it and you have no idea what to expect. And sometimes it's great, sometimes it's a little less than great, but it's always exciting. There's no doubt about it. So when I started working at camps, especially day camps, I noticed that most of them had pretty regular schedules all week. And then on Friday, it would be Wild West Day. And everybody, they would sort of break program and run their special event. And so, but when I started my own camp, because I was doing it from scratch, I wanted to have that daily element of fun. So my spirit calendar, as I call it, every day is like a holiday. And I have some simple days that are just themes. I have days that are like old school days. Like for instance, we do a rock, paper, scissors day where literally 700 kids are going to be in a rock, paper, scissors contest all the way down to the last two in front of everybody throughout the day. And then we have crazy blowout things where we bring in inflatables and all that kind of stuff too. But I really feel that part of the sleepaway camp spirit, as Curt writes in his blog, is about that excitement kind of thing. If you could generate that kind of excitement, it doesn't have to be from bringing in a $5,000 entertainer to do something. It can be a very simple, as Sam will tell us all about, it can be from very simple creativity, right? Yeah. Kids want to get excited at camp, right, Sam?
Absolutely. I am lucky enough that one of my directors is very creative, and she takes a theme and does the clothes for the day, the activity for the day, the snack for the day, the craft for the day, all around the theme. And she's come up with some doozies over the years. And you have your kids, we have our kids potentially for 9 years. So we have to keep it fresh. We have to keep rotating. We've got to come up with a lot of ideas.
Right. But in regards to that, I'm sure there's some that you do every year also, right?
Yes.
Because some things become traditions. And then the kids really look forward to it every year and talk about when they did it when they were 7 versus now they're doing it when they're 12 years old, kind of do, right? So I guess to start off, if we could just sort of go around, I talked a little bit about my things, but I'll come back. But Sam, talk more about like, what does your camp do? Like, do you do things every week? Who actually facilitates it? You know, how does your camp do special events?
All right, so we have 4 different, excuse my scraggly voice today, sorry.
We have 4, it's okay.
Yeah, we have 4 different age groups. And so the siblings don't always see each other. So every Wednesday is our huge special event for the whole afternoon at one location. The siblings get to see each other. It promotes the all camp feeling, and that whole, they know some of my directors will do the whole week on the theme of that Wednesday, but Wednesday is when they're all going to come ready to be dressed for the day, ready to, for instance, let me give you an example. Pirate Day. We do that one at the beach. But they start off, each counselor will get a newsletter with all their assignments and with a pirate map that my one director creates every year, which is part of a scavenger hunt that they're going to do as one of the activities. And as they get to each activity, for instance, they'll get to sword fighting, but it's the pool noodles with whipped cream on the end, and that's how they know who got who, is because then you have whipped cream on you. Then they'll take the map and get to the next station to do something until they finally get to the treasure, and it's ring pops. So it's jewels for everybody. So the whole afternoon is around that. And then, for instance, sorry, if we're doing Scooby-Doo Day.
Wait, I just want to pop in and say, by the way, that was awesome. That's the great kind of Sam ideas I like, because also for our folks out there, what she just described, how many kids are we talking about in total?
350.
All right, that was probably a $50 budget right there.
Yes.
So
yes.
I just want to say, keep going, Sam.
Pops,
keep going.
And they make for the craft. They make eye patches and bandanas, and we face paint, and they get tattoos. You know, the whole. Fun Express is my friend for the tattoo. And, the little toys and things that they earn on certain days. We've started, for instance, on Halloween Day, we call it Fright Fest, and we have a store. Instead of them getting candy, they get tickets, and at the end they go to the store. And at the store, then they can get all those little prizes that aren't necessarily candy.
All right. So my question though, so who facilitates these things? Is it your unit leaders? Like who actually are the people making this happen?
All right. All my directors work together. My director, Gina Smack, I have to give a shout out for Gina, is my creative force. She's my veteran director. So I guess she's kind of the team leader.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone works together to get ready to do the scenery. Like for instance, Superhero Day, we have a phone booth to change in. We have Gotham City on cardboard behind a picture thing. You know, all that preparation is done together.
During the camp day or after hours?
During
It's a
the camp
day
day.
camp podcast, right? If this was a sleepaway camp, we'd be like, oh, whatever. We're just doing
Yeah.
it 11 o'clock at night. But, you know, our people go home at 4, you know,
I have
so.
assistant directors. So the assistant directors take over while the directors go together to prepare the site.
Mm-hmm.
Like on my food fight day, they have to cook the spaghetti and that kind of thing that they're going to throw at each other. We also have a slip and slide that is changed into different things like slip away from the villains on Superhero Day. The climbing wall became Spider-Man's wall, you know, that kind of stuff. So yes, everyone has a part. She gives everybody everything in writing so they know exactly when they have to be where, what they have to hit, and how we're going to end the day.
Got it.
So.
All right. What about, let's talk Robin Hood.
Yeah, so I mean, I was just going to commend Sam. I love the idea of you know, sort of running the regular camp programs with a theme, and you know, just having that creativity of that theme carry over to all the programs. What we do at Robin Hood typically is we have 2 really massive programs that we do, similar to many overnight camps. We do a Color Wars type program, both in July and in August. The August one has a carryover theme of the quest for the Golden Arrow. It's a Robin Hood theme, and it's really you know, it's been a hallmark of our program, getting kids to come back year after year, be on the same team, that kind of thing. And so you know, for that program, we think outside the box. We do all the activities for those, you know, for those 2 programs are different than what we do in a normal day. And you know, sometimes with you know, with less success than we would like, because they're completely new activities, but you know, but it's a great opportunity for the staff to really show their creativity, plan something unique for that, you know, for the area that they're involved with. So we typically have the specialists. We have people who are dedicated as specialists throughout the summer. They typically take the lead on creating different activities for their area of camp, and we really give them you know, the opportunity to do whatever they want, and often it's a really awesome product that they produce, and so that's a really exciting part of, you know, of those days, is that the staff have a chance to really show what they're made of. And you know, in July they're a little bit you know, a little bit less likely to you know, some of the new staff athletes are less likely to feel comfortable to sharing their ideas or really exploring their ideas. And by August, you really see that full scope of contribution to the program. So it's a great opportunity for both staff, and obviously, you know, an amazing experience for the campers when we get, you know, all the cheering and you know, excitement, enthusiasm, all that stuff that can come with a day that's you know, well run and well thought out. So for Robin Hood, it's those 2 big programs that are you know, amazing, and an amazing part of our program. And we do offer some prizes and things, but it's not really it's not really about the prizes. It's about having that team name go up on a banner in our in our big building, and and knowing that back in 2007, 2008, whatever, 1995, I was on that team that won that year. So so I think there's a lot of pride. A lot of our alumni, our staff, remember that that they were contributors to winning the quest or Color Wars. And for Color Wars, actually, we paint one of our buildings, one of our front of the property buildings with the color of the winning team from that year. So it's a nice tradition that we developed.
Nice tribute.
Yeah. And I'll also just talk about some of the smaller scale things that we do. We have twice a week. We do theme days that kind of carry over from starting on the bus in the morning. We'll have the buses will be equipped with materials to, as they are every day with arts and crafts materials, but specific materials for the themes that we have. And those 2 days per week, we really, work with the bus counselors to ensure that they're decorating the bus and coming dressed up and welcoming the kids onto the bus with whatever that theme is. So if it was a pirate day, for example, then being a pirate as they say hello to the kids and walk them across the street, just being in character. That's really what we try to achieve, and to varying degrees of success, obviously, depending on the staff. But the parents love it. The kids really get a kick out of getting into the spirit right from the get-go, and then we carry that on to our arrival process in the morning. We'll decorate our front arrival area with different aspects of the theme, and then we do a flagpole in the morning where we'll theme our competitions and songs and whatever else we do at flagpole to encompassing that theme. Typically, those types of twice a week theme days sort of end with flagpole, and then we carry on with a normal day. But that's why I was kind of really excited about what you said, Sam, is that we could we have the potential to carry that theme on for an entire day if we theme each specialty area in that way. So those are the main things that we do at Robin Hood in terms of theme days, and we do some other little things here and there, which maybe I'll talk about a little bit later.
Yeah. So Ehren, just to ask the same question I asked Sam, who facilitates these things?
The great thing about the twice a week theme days is that we have a group called the bus admin team. So essentially their job is to they do some administrative work, some traditional administrative work, but typically their job is really just working with the bus counselors to create these spirited programs to make sure that they have the support they need. And so our bus admin team creates the list of ideas. Sometimes they work with the bus counselors to find out what they want to do during our training program, and then we prescribe certain themes based on that. And that bus admin team, which is a team of young people who are potential future camp leaders. Those are some really valuable opportunities for them to create some themes and to carry it through and to see their vision really become a camp-wide reality for the first part of the day. So those are the people that do that. The mass events that we have, the mass programs that we have, those twice a summer ones, color war type events, those are done. Those are spearheaded by our leadership, our leadership team, our program directors. We do have a special program director at camp who comes up with usually the general theme and works with the specialists. As I mentioned, the specialists are the ones who create a lot of the activities using their own creativity. So our special program director and our leadership team play a major role in those two big days.
I just want to just take note. All right. When we had Matt Kaufman on the other day and we were talking about summer camp communication, and he was embarrassingly telling us how he had a 7-person media team, or maybe it was 9. I don't remember. Right. Like my point there is like when you decide that something is important for your camp, like you could dedicate the resources to really make it happen. You really want to make it happen. Camp Robin Hood decided a long time ago that the bus ride to and from camp, especially to camp, is super important. That instead of having like the greatest 7 hours of a kid's life separated by 45 minutes of boredom, they make the camp day start as soon as the kids get on the bus. And they have dedicated admin that actually create and facilitate and support these younger staff that are on the bus to make it happen. And I don't know any other camp that does that so full-fledged. I think that a lot of people have taken the advice of Robin Hood and put together a bus program, but I doubt that anybody dedicates the resources that it really takes to make it happen effectively. Would you agree?
I think it's, as I mentioned just a minute ago, it creates a great opportunity for some people at our camp to really take on some additional responsibilities. And for me, I always tell even the bus counselors that this is their opportunity to shine, because they are, without our the physical support of the camp for a period of time, and in the Robin Hood environment, things are very, we're very well supported with, supervisor, section heads and leadership team members and, assistant section heads sometimes, and all these people who are there. And then you get on the bus and all of a sudden you're on your own with, a couple staff and, 40, 50 kids. And so, we give them the opportunity to really take a leadership role to do some great things. And many of the staff find that that's their favorite part of their job is taking on that
responsibility they have,
taking on that role. Yeah.
So in a typical bus of 40 or 50 kids, which I'm sure a lot of people listening it's a daunting concept, right? And how many bus counselors do you have typically on one of those buses?
So, I'll clarify that the biggest school buses that we use are 48 passenger buses. So we don't typically exceed that number.
You could squeeze in a couple extras, I'm sure. Don't worry about it.
Technically 72, but we follow usually the 48 passenger. But a lot of our buses are smaller. We use a lot of vans as well that are,
All right, but on a big bus, how many staff would you have on?
Yeah, so on a big bus, we have up to 4 sometimes staff. We'll have we average 3 on on a big bus and 2 on a small bus, but sometimes we will have 4 on a bigger bus and and 3 on a smaller bus, but right. we do try to provide as much support as possible on those.
I just want to give a shout out to Banner Day Camp, who, when I visited them during their camp day, they have a lot of buses, a lot. Okay. And they have a rule that all their staff, not just the high schoolers, even the college kids and such, take the bus to camp. They all ride the bus. So when they have these pickup spots, all these staff get on them, and they may have, some buses could have 8, 9, 10, 12 staff on a bus. And man, talk about being able to facilitate fun stuff on the bus. Personally, I like meeting my staff in the morning, at least the older ones, and be able to talk to them and prep them for the day. Their commitment to having the party start when the kids get on the bus is heavy on the staff. And really interesting. I don't know of any other day camp that does that kind of thing. So kudos to them.
And it's also nice. We do have the majority of our staff. So we have about 300 staff, and the majority of them, except for our leadership team, really does take the bus, and we give them, we approach it with the hope that every staff member is going to be part of that, that amazing bus experience and contribute, whether they are the physically responsible for the attendance and all the other responsibilities or not. They're still riding the bus as part of a magical experience.
Yeah. All right, Curt, Moose Jackson, what are you distilling out of all this? Where can you fill in the gaps for us? I know. I could literally start reading some of your stuff for your summer camp, day camp, your camp professionals page. It's awesome. Your programming, summer programming page. There's so much great stuff, but here, the mic is open for you, my friend.
Well, first, Sam, you said you did the pirate. I love that you guys do pirates. Like, that's one of my favorite things.
Heck yeah.
That everybody does pirates. But you do it on the beach?
Yes, we start off on the beach every morning for swim lessons and canoeing and kayaking and everything.
Did you ever
have a perfect spot for it?
You ever bury the treasure in the sand?
We haven't yet. We actually have a chest, but we have buried. We have done a different one where they had to dig out some things, and they love it.
So if anyone ever has the whole sand thing and they bury the chest, make sure you remember where you buried it. I did that at one of the day camps I was directing. Buried had it buried. One of my staff said, "Oh, it's right here." I was like, "Great." Kids would come and, I mean, there's so much area. They start digging around and I'm like, okay, you're getting warmer, you're getting colder. And for 45 minutes, they're digging in the wrong spot. And then the staff was like, "Oh, it's over there. Sorry."
I would say that 3/4 of all time capsule recoveries begin. Right. I know Pierce Day Camp celebrated their 100th anniversary. I think it was 2 summers ago. And they had a heck of a time looking for their time capsule. tore up a significant,
that's after years.
Significant amount. No, well, it wasn't a 100-year-old time capsule, but it was from a few decades, and they tore up a significant amount of their property trying to find it.
We did a pirate themed day several years ago. We buried poker chips, like spray painted them and decorated them, and
that's a great idea. Great idea.
I know, it was a lot of fun, and buried them in our beach volleyball court, and there are still hundreds of them in the volleyball court that turn up every single time someone plays in there. So
we would do something similar where we would have the rocks, the painted gold rocks, and we would just for the younger kids, just spread them out all over the place, and the kids had like 2 minutes because they were going to stations, and they would collect as many as they could. And there was always a bunch just left over. They just didn't have time, or they couldn't find them, or whatever. But one of the things that, Ehren, that you had, or a couple things that you had mentioned, one is that you have the staff help with the programming. And I love that because that gives the staff buy-in. I think every camp should do that, get that buy-in. Because if, as a program director, if they're coming out and you're just saying, okay, this is what you need to do, this is the program, the staff are like, okay, we'll do what we're told. But if they're part of the process, and having that buy-in makes such a huge difference. And then also you're talking about trying things out, and some work, some didn't. And that's so true, because some things will work and some things won't. But trying new things out, I think, is really important. And again, that keeps the staff from becoming complacent with the same old thing. And for the campers, they're like, oh yeah, I did this last year.
And you're modeling that for your kids, that you try things, and how you react when they don't necessarily work out, instead of being all disgusted about it and all, like being optimistic about it. What did we learn from that kind of thing? Like, it's great. Like, that's a huge Michael Brandwein thing, is teaching your staff that it's okay to fail, right? And showing them that that's fine. And because most, especially new staff, they come into the job and they want to be perfect. And they're so worried about looking bad. Your program staff can be the same way, right? It's their job to run a great program. And then, like you said, if you're trying something completely new, you never know how it's going to work out.
Moose, to go back to what you were saying, I have to advertise what my themes are in January. Mm-hmm. But we always leave one that's called Surprise Day, because if our staff come up with a good idea, then we can use it for that day. Because some people register by what the day is. So they register for that week. But the surprise day, then we can let the staff come up with a really good new one.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Great idea.
I've worked at a handful of overnight camps, but also a handful of day camps, and come from the same background as you, Sam, where it's Parks and Recreation day camps. And so we always had to have themes, because the brochure would go out, or the catalog would go out in January. So you had to have everything, or February, locked down. But during the staff training, the limited staff training time that we had, I would give them a chance. Okay, we're going to have Pirate Week. And does anybody have great ideas for little challenges, or, that type of thing? So then they felt included. Right. And then also, I would meet with my staff daily in the morning and be like, we're going to do this. Anybody have any, suggestions or ideas? Maybe we could tweak some stuff last minute. And then also, Ehren, you were talking about prizes, and that's not all about the prizes, but having a prize is cool. The last camp that I was at, we had bead necklaces. So they would earn beads for different things. And the winners would get the gold bead. And it's so, they're less than a penny a piece, but they wanted this gold bead so bad. And they also got to pick their snack first. They want the Rice Krispies or the fruit roll-ups, they had first choice. So yeah, it doesn't have to be expensive, whatever the prize or anything. But I come from the last camp I was at was again, it was a Parks and Recreation, but it was on an island. So we had to get everybody on the ferry, take them over, and of course they had to come back on the ferry. But being a day camp, that really cut into all the programming time that we had.
Is this California or Florida?
This is in California, in the Bay Area. And we
Was
also...
is this Alcatraz day camp?
It was close. It was Angel Island, not far from Alcatraz. But can you imagine if somebody came to me and said, "Can you do an Alcatraz day camp?" Yes.
All in. Yeah. Check out a great courtyard.
Right. But we also didn't have places to store stuff. We had one little closet on the island, so everything we took over had to be in these little garden carts. So we were really limited in what we did, and it was about being creative. And what we had always done was a color war in a sense. And a lot of day camp directors would be like, "I can't do a color war. I'm not an overnight camp, and I'm not sure what." Yes, you can. So every week we'd have a color war, and it would extend through the week, but the main theme color war day would be on Wednesday. And so it would be a theme day. Let's say it's pirates. So all the challenges, all the games would be pirate themed, and the age groups would go around. So they're competing against their own ages, doing these challenges and getting points for it. But one of the main things, we talk about events, and they can be huge events. Like you could say Color Wars, this huge event, or they could be small little events. And one of the things we'd always start out with was a shoe kick. And so by age group, they would all come out. It was on Monday, and they would try to kick their shoe as far as they can. You'd have all the boys of a certain age group do it, then all the girls a certain age group. And then you'd mix it up a bit. I would stand out there, and if they hit me, they got a bonus 100 points. And just stuff like that.
I love it.
Then during the day of our color war, our themed color war day, we would always start out with like a hunt, like a counselor hunt or something like that. It was a camp-wide game. And so the kids would get all excited about that, finding their counselors and earning points. And then they would come back and we would do camp songs and everything. And I think that's a great thing that, that a lot of day camps are starting to do more of, is that they're bringing a lot of what is normal at a resident or overnight camp into the day camp area, these camp songs. It gives it, skits. It's more of a camp feel, And so they would come, do camp songs. We'd have does anybody want to, show a little talent show? But during that time, we'd have CITs and some other staff set up everything. Because Andy, you're talking about who would facilitate and who would set it up. And that's the time. We have all the kids in one area do stuff, because we couldn't do it early. Nobody could get on the ferry early. The ferry didn't go early.
You don't sleep over on the big days?
On Thursdays, we let the older kids sleep over, but that was a special thing. But yeah, there's so much you can do, from game shows. Game shows are a big special event that I love to do. I worked at one, this is an overnight YMCA camp, and we had what was called Death Ball. Okay, I don't think anybody should be calling it Death Ball, but that's what it was. I didn't have any say in it, but it was a dodgeball game between the oldest kids.
It's just things you could call at sleepaway camp that you can't use at day camp, right?
Yeah, especially like 20 years ago.
File under.
And it was counselors versus the oldest, like the high school kids. But they made it this event where we'd bring out the popcorn machine. We'd bring out the speakers for the music. Everybody would be around the tennis court where we played this. And it was just this game that, only had a few people really playing, but it became this huge event over time. And it was so much fun, so memorable. And people would talk about it the whole week.
Yeah. What I like hearing with the stuff, and, because your background from the not-for-profit world, right, and Sam's stuff, and is that I'm friends with a lot of day camp operators in the Northeast who charge a lot of money for their camps and who go out and spend a lot of money on their special events, which when you listen to things like, you're kicking the shoe, thing, like needlessly, like there's so much you can do creatively, right? That is really old school fun. And I think that as technology keeps taking over the world, like this kind of old school fun is like going to be less and less prevalent in these kids' lives. And for them to be able to find it in an oasis of camp is like so gold and so amazing. And we really need to hang on to these things. And I really, my day camp friends out there, like you really need to talk to these nonprofits, these municipal programs, these sleepaway camps to get these ideas. They do get handed down through the ages, like they've been playing these things. They've been burying treasures for pirate theme days with scavenger hunts for 100 years. Right. But I'm sure there's day camps listening right now like, oh my God, it seems so simple. We never tried that. Right. Sometimes simple is better.
That one ingredient too that he talked about, the background music or the, adding a soundtrack to what you're doing makes it so much more special. Just that little ingredient that costs nothing.
Yeah. And especially if you have, in this day and age of Spotify and all that kind of stuff, you can get anything going. And that is something from the 21st century of technology that we can embrace, is that we could stick music anywhere now, right? Battery powered speakers, all those kind of things.
Well, like you said, Andy, I mean, all these ideas, a lot of them are not new, but they are to the kids, especially if it's their first year.
Especially if they're 5 years old.
Right. It's like, what is it? I bought a bunch of little plastic animals, and we would hide them along a trail and then take the kids along, and they were trying to find as many of these animals as possible. And to them, it was so exciting. They're like, when can we do another animal hunt? And I'm like, really? It was so simple. Another thing that we did, and this was really simple, is that I got a little gold Smurf, and from Toys R Us, R.I.P. Toys R Us, and little gold Smurf, and I would hide it, and whichever person found it, they would get a bunch of points for their team. But I would just randomly hide it. It'd be after lunch. I'd be like, find the golden Smurf, and everybody's like, whoa, we gotta go find it. And I'd say, boundaries are here to here, go. And it was so exciting, but that Smurf cost me like $3. And for years, I would hide it. And it ended up getting like 2 other Smurfs, a blue one and a regular one. But it was just so awesome to see them. And then somebody would find it, and they'd raise it in the air, and all the kids would gather around. Let me see it. Yeah. So very simple, very easy. It doesn't have to be, fireworks and dragons.
Yeah, sometimes simplest things.
And I just want to just talk for a second just about we talked about the prizes and budgets and stuff like that, and for us, we do have a larger budget compared to a lot of the camps, and there was a time when we were buying all these prizes for our special days, like although they're cheap and there's websites that you can get them from. It's a little more expensive in Canada to import them, but whatever. These kids who come from a more, privileged background, they take this thing that we spent, maybe $2 on that we thought was a great prize. And, 2 minutes later, they don't know where it is. And so what we did for a lot of, a couple of these events is, similar to what Sam was saying, we give out tickets, and we looked for the groups with the cabin groups essentially, or the teams that had the most tickets, and then we would do not an auction, but we do a first, second, and third place prize of 3 things that we came up with. And one of the most popular things that we gave away was a chance to dance on the flagpole stage with in front of the whole camp. So cost $0, and the kids loved it. It was like the best thing we could have done, because they felt like superstars. And so stuff like that, having snack before everybody else, those kinds of things, those even for our camp have been way more successful than any expensive prize that we could have given out. So
I learned early on with the name game to get a rubber chicken to throw in the tennis ball name game. Well, I carry this rubber chicken with me, and I actually teach a class on Wednesdays with kids, and it's the second year I've had them. Well, yesterday we were in a room, it was supposed to be quiet, and something fell on my bag, and the rubber chicken squawked. And everyone in the class turned around and go, the rubber chicken. So they kind of gain a life of their own. And then the other cheapest thing that I wanted to tell you about was a snowball fight. We did you know how you do sometimes Christmas in July. We turned it into Frozen. You know, we've made, you know, whatever winter theme, but you can have a snowball fight with the large marshmallows and it never ends. And the kids love it. And it'll go on for hours and they don't get hurt. So they can whip marshmallows at each other for like an hour.
That's an awesome, awesome idea.
Are the kids eating it before? Any kids eat it before they throw?
Oh God, they probably eat it after they throw it. Moose.
Yeah, by the end it gets kind of gross.
We did a snowball fight a few years ago for a Winter Wonderland Day, and we got white water balloons. That worked very well. But by the way, there's certain water balloons that don't break very easily. So just make sure you get the ones that break easily. I have a few notes based on some of the things that people were saying before we go back to this. I mean, we could talk about this kind of stuff all day. I mean, honestly, this could be like a 10-part series, right? So one of the things that people were talking about was having the staff help come up with ideas. So I stole an idea from Pierce Day Camp out on Long Island again. They have a spirit committee that convenes in the off season. So, you know, us being day camps, all our staff live around except for the college students that are elsewhere. But so we send an email to our staff that are returning and we say, hey, we're having a spirit committee meeting. There's going to be free pizza and we're going to come up with ideas and brainstorm.
Great idea.
And that spirit committee comes up. They are the genesis of what turns into our insane spirit calendar, right? Where every day is something nuts. And yeah, and it's great buy-in, and a lot of people could in the middle of summer be like, hey, you know what, that was my idea. You know, we actually came through with it. So on our spirit calendar, we have certain days that we denote as dress-up days, right? Because one, I think it was number 7 on Moose's list of like his top 20 things of Sleepaway Camp spirit was dressing up, right? Another simple, easy thing. Like if you're not, first of all, if you don't have a rubber chicken, you're not a camp director. But if you don't have a superhero day at a day camp, like where kids can just come in and dress up as superheroes, I mean, that is just like the easiest no-brainer. They just love dressing up as superheroes. You know, they love it, and so do the staff too in this day and age. What else? Sleepaway camp ideas, okay, like we've been saying here. And Moose said something funny. He said, yes, you can do it, right? Because the initial feedback that you get pushback from people when you start pushing people's boundaries and getting them uncomfortable. And your day camp, you know, we're so worried about what the parents are going to say, kind of junk, right? Yes, you can do it, right? And I just want to throw in, when you guys go to Tri-State or ACA National or one of the big conferences, as a day camp person, you're crazy if you don't go to the sleepaway camp evening activity workshops that they do. Because that is just a haven for all this crazy, awesome stuff that's been coming down through the ages. You know, the sleepaway camp's got the real deal, right? We're sort of like the fast food version in many ways, but we can create some really cool stuff. Yes, we have a younger clientele. I visited Crestwood Day Camp the other day out in Long Island, right? 1/3 of their campers are preschoolers, 1/3. Right? That's a unique thing that we day camps have to do. So yes, we have to do things a little less crazy, but we can still do some sleepaway campy things. You mentioned the auction, right? That kind of thing, right, Ehren? But you know, the big thing in sleepaway camp is Gold Rush, right? With an auction afterwards. And yeah, the prizes can all be things like dancing on the stage or eating lunch with the camp director or pieing somebody or something like that, right? There can be very, very easy, cheap things that you can do for a Gold Rush. For those of you who don't know what a Gold Rush is, look it up online because I don't want to explain the whole thing. All right.
Yeah, experiences are great as prizes. They really are.
They are. And by the way, did they say that now? Millennials prefer experiences?
That's right. Get that Monopoly game.
That's the big thing. Right, the Monopoly game. Exactly. Right. Yacht or Not is a great one that we, you know, stole from sleepaway camps, which is every single group of like 15 or so kids gets a garment box and a roll of duct tape, and they race their counselor across the pool. Or in our, you know, like me and Sam, we have a lake, we can do the lake kind of thing. You know, teamwork, they're building this boat, right? They only get one roll of duct tape. They have to work together. It's frustrating. It's funny. It's hilarious. They could wear sailor costumes if they want to and all that kind of thing. Color War. right? Now, I know you don't want to use the word war, so call it, you know, carnival, call it Olympics, call it whatever you want. But that kind of like spontaneity that you could throw in there. Who knows when it's going to start? And then it ends up with the sings and the colors and all that kind of thing.
Color games.
Yeah, color games. And Ehren mentioned that they paint the side of the barn the color of the winning team. I just want to throw in there, I went to Camp Canadensis, sleepaway camp, and they have a big bear, like a carved out bear out of a tree kind of thing. And in the bear's hand is a globe, like a ball, and it's that color. That's the winning color. And the bear holds that ball for it's stuck in there somehow, screwed in. The bear holds it for the rest of the year until the next year when the next team wins, right? Another thing I got, running through the day, running the activities through the day, kind of the theme through the day versus a set period. So I am very intentional about my spirit events. It's a huge part of my camp's program. And we have 8 periods in a day. And there's 1 period every day for every division called spirit period, right? So let's say first period is freshmen, second period is sophomores, third period is juniors, that kind of thing. So the division's doing it at a time. Now I have big divisions, 150, 200 kids at a time. It's like the size of a camp. So I'm very intentional doing it like that. But when it's a theme day, if it's just pirate day, right? Or superhero day, like to then give it off to your program people, your tennis specialist and your swim staff and all that. What can we do to make being at swim superhero day? Right? And I'm not talking about going out to Party City and spending money on decorations. No, I'm talking about creative juice stuff, right? And there's stuff that they can do, right? Especially like Sam said, we send out our calendar in January. There's plenty of time to plan for that kind of thing. And then, I keep asking the question, like, who's setting it up? Who's doing all this kind of thing? Because the more extravagant you get with your stuff, the more you're taxing, especially your top people, right? And one of the best decisions I made, now this is like where I get extravagant, like the Ramacoy media team. I have a spirit team. So I have one person that is dedicated spirit events. That's all this person does, right? And one of the best decisions I ever made, instead of taxing my maintenance crew, because my maintenance crew is getting ransacked, hey, today, by the way, it's 8 in the morning right now. So by 9:15, we need 7 stations set up on the field, 1 for this and 1 for that. We need 10 buckets of water and all. And my maintenance people are like, we have to get ready for lunch now, like, and that kind of thing, right? So I hired one person, a maintenance person dedicated just to the program team, right? Someone that understands how all that kind of stuff works, where everything's hidden and all that. And that one person can be the support team for setting it up and, of course, breaking it down too. And yeah, that's a salary. That's a summer salary right there dedicated to it. But to me, it took so much pressure off of my middle management, my unit leaders, my directors, as Sam calls them, who were so taxed. They're dealing with kids fighting and talking to parents and all this kind of stuff. And now they got to break down the scavenger hunt, So to me, where you spend money, it's a very interesting thing. Curt, any last thoughts? Because, as our guest guy here.
No, I mean, I think you covered a lot. That was good.
Thank you.
Again, like you say, we could talk for hours on this subject.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
So now, my big thing is that, again, a lot of, you mentioned, hey, if you're a day camp, go to a workshop that talks, if they're given ideas about evening activities. And so many day camp directors will say, but we're not here during the evenings, or we don't have time. You have time. You can make time for this.
Yes.
The schedule is what you make it. And to say, campfire is my favorite. I love campfires. Mm-hmm. But there's no reason you can't do a campfire program without the campfire. You can still do the songs. You can still do the skits.
Yeah, and there's no saying you can't make a campfire during the day either, right?
Right. There are plenty of fake campfires if it's too hot. Or keep them away from the fire. But yes, you could definitely do it. It doesn't have to be at night. Mm-hmm. So I love the idea. I love that. Yeah. Get as much as you can. Get much, and write, keep files of this stuff.
Yeah. Oh, no doubt. And listen, there's so much stuff online. We are so lucky to live in the age of the internet, right?
That's true.
The Boy Scouts have just so much stuff out there.
So many sites.
And the budget for a Boy Scout camp is minimal.
Nothing.
So it's all cheap stuff. Right?
One thing you talked about, Andy, the spontaneity. Last summer, our teen camp decided to create a wedding. And they did all the decorations, the flowers, the outfits, fake ties. the whole thing and invited all the other camps to the wedding and married 2 counselors. But the whole thing, so I posted on the notes some pictures that just have like the wedding and some other examples. And I also posted 2 lists of different, 2 of the newsletters that we send out just for an example. But anyway.
All right, that's awesome. All right, so before we move on, we're going to do our day camp program tip of the week. We got another sponsor, ladies and gentlemen, and they're sponsoring the day camp program tip of the week. It's AM Skyer. That's right, the insurance company AM Skyer, the leading insurance broker for the finest camps in America. For almost 100 years, AM Skyer has been a strategic partner with summer camps, ready to support any needs arising in PR, legal issues, health, facility, and more. Experience the AM Skyer difference. And I have to tell you, they have done a wonderful job with me in times of distress and in good times, and they have a great team, especially the PR guy and the legal guy. So it's so great to have that team behind you. And before we do this, here's a bonus. I have a bonus tip, ladies and gentlemen, because we're recording this episode on Thursday it's a week after Thanksgiving. I don't know when this will actually be released, but we had a Cyber Monday just went by, right? And I am known in the camp industry to many of my colleagues as like the crazy incentive guy, right? I sign people up. To me, getting them in the door, rolling out the red carpet, getting them to sign up, and then hopefully I have them for years, right? So this past Monday, we did a Cyber Monday deal, okay? This is my flyer that went out on the internet and to all inquiries that have a big inquiry database, right? And plus I put it on social media, and then I sent it to a whole lot of my Yenta moms out there, the moms that really love us, so they could share it with all their Yenta friends. And we had over 30 kids sign up. Nice. New campers on Cyber Monday. The deal was half price for only weeks 1 and 2, the first 2 weeks of camp, because as most of my friends in the Northeast know, if you're running camps, our first 2 weeks of camp after school ends usually includes the 4th of July week. So a lot of kids want to start week 3 because of that. We have a huge influx of kids week 3. So weeks 1 and 2, we have our full staff, yet we have a lot less kids. So I do all my incentivizing and all my tricky trays and stuff like that. We did 70 tricky trays for silent auctions last year. Okay, they're all for weeks 1 and 2, right? So I've been building up those weeks, which I have an issue with. So yeah, and by the way, a lot of these weeks 1 and 2 kids that signed up, they signed up for more than weeks 1 and 2. So they got weeks 1 and 2 for half price, but then they signed up for 4, 5, 6 also, kind of thing too. And you know, I've done this for a few years now. I know they come back. I know once they start drinking my bug juice, all right, they're coming back next year. All right. So anyway, that's the bonus one. My program tip of the week is I wanted to go back to the cheap spirit event idea to one that I am telling you, it is such a home run. It is the lookalike contest, the camp-wide lookalike contest. So it's on the calendar. It's on a Monday, okay, but it's really all week long, because on Monday and Tuesday, you find someone in camp that's somebody that you look like, right? You go to the office, okay? So let's say I'm looking right now at Ehren and Moose, and they both have full beards and mustaches. So you could, you know, if you're a little blurry, you could say they look like each other. So
I mean, I was going to look for the camp dog.
And by the way, it's even funnier if Moose is 6'4" and Ehren is like 4'10", right? So they go to the office, right? They get their picture taken, right? So for 2 or 3 days, they get the pictures taken of these kids and counselors, counselors and counselors, kids and kids, the camp dog, like you said. Yeah, you could be creative, right? People come in costumes. People come, they dress exactly alike. Can't be relatives. You cannot be related, all right? It has to be completely, you know, not related. Because otherwise, you know, the identical twins tend to win. So, and then on Thursday and Friday, we post the pictures, the Polaroids or whatever, on a bunch of boards outside the office. And we have a box, and they fill out a ballot, you know, number 2, number 10, number 29, right? And then we pull it, you know, we count them all up on Friday, and at the assembly, we select the winners. And it costs nothing. A tremendous amount of excitement, a tradition. We do it every single year. So a kid comes off the bus and the first day, a new kid, and they go, "Oh my God, you look exactly like whoever." And you know, are you here week 4? Because we're doing a lookalike contest. You guys are going to win this thing, right? It's just this thing. So
I love it.
All right, Sam, you're up next.
All right. I'm going to do superhero day, but it's a weird twist. We made it into everyday heroes one year, and we had a fireman, a nurse, a camp counselor, or a school principal,
Mm.
a teacher,
Camp
and
director.
and the mayor. And we actually, everybody but the mayor were kids who went to camp. And now
Oh my
here they
God.
were, principals,
Oh, that's so
all
awesome.
that kind of stuff. So it made the kids realize, first of all, I'm a camper now, but I could be one of these people. And one of my different needs childs went up to the mayor and told him he was going to take his job, which was pretty funny. But it also built a little support from the mayor and from the city for what we do as well. So that was nice.
Awesome. That's great. I love your creativity. And just, tagging on to the special needs kid, our next episode will be the Day Camp Podcast inclusion episode. So we're all excited about that because we all three of us, Ehren, Sam, and I, we have great inclusion programs at our camp. All right, Ehren.
So my program idea is, the name that I call it is diorama delusion, but really could be anything. Basically, the idea is to create either a scene or a sculpture. We've done it with different items, and create that in one area of the camp, and have a bunch of people who are sort of guarding it and in charge of that scene. And they I believe I said they created it, and they're in charge of it, and they guard it. And then they're allowed to send messengers from. Another team is allowed to send messengers over to that area to get some clues. So it's almost like a broken telephone in a sense, where they can ask questions of the people who actually are viewing it, and get them to describe certain aspects of it, one question at a time, to one person, and they pass that message back on to another group of people who are trying to duplicate or recreate that diorama, that scene, that sculpture, whatever it is, and and the winner is the group that does the best job of creating that or duplicating that scene. And so
It's really cool.
It goes along with the theme of the day potentially, or it could just be done on a regular day. It could be done in a large, camp-wide setting, or, we do it with a group of, 12 or, one cabin group, 12 or 15 kids divided in half, and, doing it, with to a smaller scale.
What kind of stuff are they using in the diorama? Like, are they using popsicle sticks? Like what are they?
Yeah. So initially, we created it with, a bunch of stuff, popsicle sticks, playing cards, maybe some paper plates, things like that. And, they could color them and make them into something, an artistic sculpture. But then, when we go to the big scale, we do it with some costumes and some full people as a physical part of the display. So it's a lot of fun, either on the small scale or the big scale.
Awesome.
Very
Awesome.
cool.
Kurt, you got anything?
So what are you looking for? Just a program idea?
We're looking for a cool program thing, that activity, a special event, etc., that can be used this summer at minimal cost for people.
Well, I mean, definitely do get yourself, it doesn't have to be a Smurf, but get something like that.
I'm a Smurf, baby.
Because that is the greatest thing. You'll be amazed. But one of the other things that my staff really enjoyed doing was stump the counselors. And so if you have all the kids and you're looking, I'm big on time fillers. Like, don't just stand around while you've got 5-10 minutes waiting for the next activity or waiting for a special event, and just talk to the counselors and have the kids do something, Mm-hmm. And one of the things that we do is stump the counselor. And so the kids can raise their hand, and they ask a question, but they have to know the answer. Any trivia question, they have to know the answer. And it can't be like, what's my dog's name, right? It has to be kind of a general knowledge type of question. Mm-hmm. And then the counselors kind of huddle together, and if they can answer the question, you get no points for your team. But if they can't and you stumped them, you get some points for your team. So it's called Stump the Counselor. It's really easy to do. You can do it at the drop of a hat.
Great. Awesome.
I like all the transition activities. That could be a whole nother session.
It could.
It is
yes.
a session. If Michael Bramwine does a session, because he came to my camp and did it, called The Time in Between, right? And it was all that kind of stuff. You know, and one of the key things, just going back to, we're lucky. Our population is a younger population than most resident camps. We can do fun, easy, cool stuff, and the kids just latch right onto it, right? Just think about Moose's story about, what was it called? The animal hunt in the woods?
The animal hunt, right.
I mean, come on. You couldn't do that with a group of 13 and 14-year-olds. But with a group of 5 and 6-year-olds, they're like, let's do it again.
But I'll tell you what, those 13, 14-year-olds, they love hiding those animals. We're the younger ones. So.
Yeah, with the Michael Brandwine, I've seen him speak about that topic too, and I believe he calls it the bricks and the mortar. And the mortar is all the in-between stuff. So it's great.
That's good.
If you haven't heard Michael speak about it, it's great.
No, there's no doubt about it. Just out of curiosity, with the time between at Robin Hood and Crystal Lake, what do you guys have passing time? Do you guys have actual passing time in your program day? Or is it just like my camp, it's 45 minutes periods, and the next one starts right after. So I tell my people, you know, leave a little early, get there a little late kind of thing. I'm just curious what you guys do.
For us, we don't. We basically tell them leave a little early or get there a little bit late. We don't have it factored into the schedule, but we tell our staff this is an awesome opportunity to do something great and have some fun and show role models to some other counselors and just really bond with your campers. So some of them will rely so much on the specialists and on the activities that they want to avoid those mortar opportunities, as I mentioned. But the majority of them really love the opportunity to be able to leave early, 10 minutes early even sometimes, because they have a great idea that they want to try out.
What about you, Sam?
We're the same. One year we had a grant from Catch where they gave us the string backpacks with different things you could do for transition times. But that was years ago and they've kind of gone by the wayside. I think I really need to concentrate on revamping.
Right. Well, it's so funny, being, I'm 51 years old and going from starting at working at camp where there was like no technology in kids' hands at all to what it is today. Like when I used to do my bus counselor training, I used to basically reference all the stuff that we used to do as kids in the car when we went on trips. Right. And now for the last 15 years, at least, right. I mean, if a kid's going to like the 5 and they're going to like get milk around the corner, they put a Disney movie in the car, right? Or they're on their handheld playing Fortnite or something like that, right? So unfortunately, our staff now, they do not come with the tools to do this in-between stuff because they never had to do in-between. You know what in-between stuff is for most people? Ages 9 and up, it's pulling this out, right? And checking your push notifications and going to Instagram or whatever, right? So again, just to reiterate, we are carrying the torch of like this kind of creativity and spontaneity and like that kind of thing. And it's camp people, right? People who went to camp, who are now working at camp, who get it, and unfortunately the bulk of society is not getting that. So we need to do our best to get this word out there and help these people because the population of people that can do that is just shrinking.
And that's why it's so important to fight the technology and keep it out of the camps, right?
Yes.
So that the kids have that.
Hallelujah. All right. So anyway, I want to thank our executive producer, the Camp Maverick himself, Mr. Go Camp Road, Travis Allison, for helping us get this show on the road for you, and our guest camp guru, Curt Moose Jackson. And of course, our generous sponsors, ACA New York, New Jersey, Commercial Recreation Specialists, and AM Skyer, for allowing us to bring this podcast to you. Check out our show notes from this and other episodes at thedaycamppodcast.com. And feel free to send us some feedback and new ideas for future pods. And if you don't ever want to miss an episode of the Day Camp Pod, then you should subscribe to us on iTunes or wherever else you get your favorite podcasts. And don't forget to show your Day Camp brethren some digital love and give us some nice ratings and reviews. We'll be back real soon with our next topic, Day Camp Inclusion. And I think we're getting Sari. Are we getting Sari, Ehren?
I think so. She's
All right.
she's tentatively agreed. We
All
just
right, well, we got to get her schedule when we book it. All
Yeah.
right. So enjoy the winter. Okay. Enjoy your downtime. Hide your acorns. Okay. This is your time to be creative. Get your September list done. It's now December. Get your September list done. And thanks for listening. This has been the Day Camp Pod.